You're listening to the Greeks Gridiron, live with Ethan Haristadoulou.
What's up, everyone, and happy Friday. It is April 22nd, 2022. We are 6 days away now from the NFL Draft. And continuing on with our on-the-clock draft preview series, we have ourselves the Pittsburgh Steelers on the clock. So we'll be talking some of the Steel Curtain and who I would like to see them go after in this year's NFL Draft. So my Steelers fans, make sure you comment down below. Who do you want to see the Steelers get in this year's NFL Draft? Do you think they should take a quarterback? Do you think they should build around Mitch Trubisky? We're going to talk it all right here, right now. So make sure you hit that like button if you enjoy, and also subscribe so you don't miss out on all the content as we roll through the rest of the NFL offseason. So the Steelers, my goodness, two big things that I would really like to look at here is, one, offensive line and linebacking corps. That's where my day 3 and day 2 picks are going to kind of focus around, and then we'll wait on the discussion for first round pick number, what is it, 20 that they have. The offensive line, we'll start there because this was a unit that just a couple of years ago was arguably one of the better in the league, and I feel like the Steelers have had an excellent offensive line for a while, and then David DeCastro retired, Marquise Pouncey retired, Villanova ended up leaving. You know, you just suddenly went from having such an excellent group to who the hell is even blocking for the Steelers anymore? So with that in mind, this is probably not the only selection on offensive line. And if you've never seen one of these draft previews before, I'm doing a day 3 selection, a day 2, and then the first round pick. So I'm only covering 3 picks total here. I'm not going to sit here and break down each and every pick for you guys and act like I'm some expert on the Steelers. I'm covering every team here. So I'm just giving a general idea of some guys I'd like them to go after. And in day 3, he should be available somewhere around like 4th, 5th round, and I think he would be an excellent guy to bring on because of his experience and just how many places he's played the position and played it effectively. Is going to be left tackle Zachary Thomas out of San Diego State. Like I said, he's played all 5 positions on the offensive line at some point during his football career. The guy is a beast of a man at 6'5", 310 pounds, with a little bit more room to put on that frame from what I've read. A lot of people think he could put up on some size, maybe hit like that 320 range, which is excellent. You know, he could be a big, solid guy. He has excellent footwork, and he's praised for constantly keeping them moving. This is someone with a good motor, good footwork is one of those things that like some offensive linemen seem to have it and some of them don't, where they just kind of stick their feet in the mud. But really good offensive line play involves keeping those legs chugging along through the play and not letting yourself get your feet stuck in the ground there. So really good technique, really good size, and solid strength as well. This is definitely someone I could see targeting. Again, day 3 guy, depth guy, probably someone who could ultimately end up starting if he really wows the coaching staff during this offseason program here. Handwork isn't necessarily the best, but that's something you can always work on. You know, he gets a lot of criticisms in different ways for his hand usage, but again, that's a coaching thing more than anything else. And when you're getting into the NFL, you have the best of the best kind of teaching techniques and things like that. So definitely something he can adjust with and work on. But one of the bigger issues for someone his size is the lack of explosiveness that he has. A lot of coaches seem to believe that, or just, no, excuse me, coaches, scouts seem to believe, or the people around the NFL that are doing all their mock drafts and whatnot, seem to believe that he's not quite as explosive of a guy as you'd want him to be for his size. So whether that's an issue of maybe he doesn't quite understand the way to get off the snap correctly, or whatever it may be, that's another thing that I think could potentially be worked on. But maybe it's a physical thing too, and just he doesn't have that power quite in his legs. Who knows? But overall, in terms of just what he brings to the table with intangibles and size and again, experience, he's played everywhere on the offensive line. When I'm looking at offensive line, especially later in the draft, versatility is a huge thing for me. This is someone I definitely like to see them go after. He's graded out really well the last 3 years of his career too. So, I mean, the guy is solid and should be an excellent addition in those later rounds. Now, Moving into day 2, like I said, I wanted to focus on O-line and I wanted to focus on the linebacking corps. The linebacking corps is somewhat of a question mark, and Pittsburgh, at least for as long as I've been watching football, I feel like has always been known for having dominant linebackers. Well, Devin Bush last season, and this is not my words, this is what I've seen from Steelers fans, it seemed to be a little bit lost playing the position at times last year, and I know that Myles Jack is now a Pittsburgh Steeler. He does not really do a ton for me. I know he's athletic, but I don't know if I really buy in on the pairing of like Devin Bush and Myles Jack being the linebackers in Pittsburgh. I would like to see them, go after someone in this year's draft, and someone who should be available around the 2nd or 3rd round, depending on just how things shake out, would be linebacker Chad Muma out of Wyoming. This is someone who I think would be an excellent addition and upgrade, to be honest with you guys, for that linebacking room. He was credited for 68 total defensive stops in 2021. He has a nose for finding the ball carrier. He's averaged 11 plus sacks in every game the last 2 seasons. Not sacks, I'm sorry. Oh my goodness, that's not right. Tackles, not sacks. And he's very solid in coverage. He came away with 3 interceptions in 2021. An excellent situational awareness. He brought 2 of those back for a touchdown. He is the total package in terms of just like playmaking ability, finding the football, and understanding what is going on and where he needs to be in the defense. Competition level, was fairly low for him in 2021, so that is a concern that some people believe that maybe he was having such an excellent season because he was, feeding off of teams that aren't quite as good as, like, say, all these Power 5 teams and whatnot he did not go against. And physicality, not quite what some scouts would like him to have, considering he is a 6'3", 240-pound monster, but overall, you can't take away from that production. Some of that has got to translate over. And while it might be a bit of like a shock when he gets to the NFL and he really sees just how like elite level some of these players are, it's definitely something that if he has the right mindset, he can adjust to. I know the competition level tends to be a concern for a lot of people, but you look at some of the, Division II guys that have made it in the NFL, or some of those smaller school, not even linebackers, but just like players in general who tend to take off in the NFL. If you have the right mindset, yeah, the competition level might shock you slightly when you first get there, your rookie season, but some people play above that and it doesn't even they don't even break a sweat. So not something that I really concern myself with too much. I don't think competition level ultimately decides how good you are in the NFL. I think it's a mindset thing, and just like, are you willing to be able to embrace that level of competition? And I think that Chad Muma, considering how effective he was with the opportunity he had to play the teams that it's not his fault, he's just there playing football. I think he'd be a solid day 2 guy. Again, round 2, round 3, somewhere within that ballpark would be a great addition. Even if he's just a depth piece year 1, or maybe, he wows and ends up starting. I think that there's a possibility he could overtake someone like Myles Jack. But that's who I'd like to see in that day 2 spot, somewhere around there, whether it's 2nd or 3rd round. Now, for pick number 20 in the 1st round, I was a little bit torn here. And I wanted to stay away from the quarterback position because I was, I want to believe that Mitchell Trubisky is their guy. But I think if there is a possibility that the Steelers can get a quarterback they love, then they're probably going to go QB. It's not that I doubt Mitch Trubisky. You don't necessarily know what you're going to get. He comes out of a situation like Chicago, and it's easy to point the finger at what was going on in Chicago and that being like that being the reason for the lack of success he had there. Ultimately, though, if there is a quarterback I think they could really value and love, I think they go after it. And while I love the idea of Malik Willis going to the Steelers, I think the Steelers would probably be more comfortable going after quarterback Desmond Ridder out of Cincinnati. The reason for this is because you're getting someone who might be a little bit more pro-ready and more so fits the bill of like a Steelers quarterback. He's 6'3", 200 and I believe like 20 some odd pounds within that range. Bigger guy, 4-year starter, consummate leader. Brought Cincinnati to unheard heights for, a smaller school, whatnot, making it to the college football playoffs this past season. He's the third winningest football quarterback in college football history. Praised for his drive to get better. He never settles. He was always working on his craft. Year-over-year growth, has solid mobility, but he plays to win from the pocket. I'm not saying he's Ben Roethlisberger, but he fits what the Steelers have been using for like the last 20 some odd years. And I think that like all those traits and, past success will be very appealing for Pittsburgh. Now, there are some things to his game that maybe they shy away from, and he ultimately ends up not being their selection because of average arm strength. He doesn't have quite the velocity in his throws that you'd want at the pro level, but that might be something that could be worked on a bit. He rarely gets through his full progressions, was a criticism I kept reading about in all of his scouting profiles. And inconsistent accuracy on intermediate throws. If you go back and watch some of his tape, he does miss some random shots here and there in the middle of the field. And that is definitely a dangerous thing when you're getting into the NFL because of how good some of these corners and even some of these linebackers are becoming at ball hawks. It's pretty crazy how even these linebackers these days are picking passes off like they're corners. But overall, I think Desmond Ridder just kind of fits the bill of a quarterback in Pittsburgh. I almost like Malik Willis more because I love the potential upside he has over there in Pittsburgh. But Desmond Ridder, to me, just kind of like rings the bell as the Pittsburgh quarterback. Or at least it just makes more sense to me because you have more raw upside with Malik Willis, whereas again, Ridder has had that college success, third most winning quarterback in college history. That speaks a lot. And it was the drive to get better and never settling for where he was at. That's something that I think will really appeal to the Pittsburgh coaching staff and Mike Tomlin specifically. So it just feels like Desmond Ridder might be a better fit for the team overall. But I'm kind of torn as to who they go for quarterback here. It does not really seem like anyone has a true idea as to who they're going to go after, and I'm definitely in that group. I don't really know who exactly it is that they're targeting, but if I was to look at all these guys, like with the concerns of Kenny Pickett and the hands thing, and Malik Willis having played at a smaller school and he's more upside than anything else, and Matt Corral's also there from Ole Miss, I think Desmond Ridder, if he ends, and this is a whole if he ends up being available there, Desmond Ridder might get taken really early in the draft and he's not even there. And then I would see them go after, I would, like, if I was to organize like a list of QBs for the Steelers, it'd probably go like Ridder, Willis, Pickett, Corral, or maybe flip-flop Pickett and Corral. That's kind of how I would look at it. But that's what I think they go for in round one. Quarterback, if Desmond Ridder's available, it's Ridder. If it's not Ridder, it's going to be probably one of the other QBs, more likely Willis, and then either Corral or Pickett, depending on who's available if Willis is gone as well. But that is my draft preview for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, my Steelers fans, comment down below who you'd like to see them go after. What do you guys think of my list here? I appreciate you all for watching. Draft day is 6 days away. Cannot wait. Super excited. I appreciate you all for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Have a good one.